a spirited young woman documenting a dream road trip across the USA.
Gabby Petito never goes outside.
Projecting the sunny image of the perfect life.
Gabby Petito could have been anybody. She could have been your sister, your friend, yourself.
The wellness influencer, followed by thousands on TikTok and YouTube. And the seemingly happy, loving fiancé, always by her side, always positive.
So, we are right outside Capitol Reef right now, and we've been lucky so far at all the places we've stayed.
When you look at everything that they posted online, this couple were madly in love with each other, but every relationship has got cracks.
22-year-old Gabby Petito is missing.
But we love her very much. We miss her and we want her to come home.
A search across America, on the road and online.
The Gabby Petito hashtag has gone viral, viewed more than 500 million times on TikTok.
What happened to Gabby Petito gripped the world. But was the answer there all along?
What's your guys' names?
Gabby.
I'm Brian. Gabby, Brian, okay. What's going on? How come you're crying?
For the first time, the Faking It experts analyze frame by frame what was really going on. The Watcher.
She just gets worked up sometimes, and I try and really distance myself from her.
If you watch the hands, it's more a shaking, throttling movement. Really, you're showing signs that maybe you're violent with her.
The Listener.
The police officer's walking towards the van at this point. It sounds as though she's saying help. Why does she say it?
And the Profiler.
Yeah, you got 3 scratches in your neck.
Pay very special attention whenever you've got a man who is covered in scratches.
Got one on the left side of your nose. Got one in the face here.
Scratches on a perpetrator are all that you will see when a woman has been subject to non-fatal strangulation.
We drove by and the gentleman was slapping the girl.
The country fell in love with Gabby Petito, and the public could not believe the story ended this way.
He was slapping her?
This case definitely brought to light the dark side of social media and how everything can look picture perfect when it really is not.
The journey that Gabby Petito and Brian Laundrie embarked on in July of 2021 was something I think so many of us would love to do.
Gabby and Brian went all the way west to California.
They just sort of left the hustle and bustle of life happy and in love. Everything just seemed so perfect.
They were hitting all of the national parks, Yellowstone, the Grand Tetons, and going through the Midwest and the Plains.
It was also a chance for Gabby to do what she loved, which was take photographs and to video.
Whether it was how they were cooking their food on a campfire or how they were lounging in the self-made hammock, the rock climbing, the hiking, the watching the sunset on the oceans in California. She had her camera out for almost every aspect of this trip.
She actually became a vlogger and would post these videos for people to see, and she got quite a following.
They liked her funny insights into the reality of camping.
Hello, hello, and good morning. It is really nice and sunny today. It's only 10 o'clock in the morning, but it rained all afternoon yesterday.
Oh my God! The tent is just coming in on me. The wind is so bad.
When you look at everything that they posted online, this couple were madly in love with each other, but every relationship has got cracks. As a consultant forensic psychologist, I've come face to face with some of the most notorious criminals, studying them, profiling them, and discovering what drives them.
Driver is showing some obscure driving, possibly intoxicated. Currently doing 45 miles an hour. Zone through here is 25. Oh! Subject just hit the curb.
I want us to listen to what Gabby is saying as the police officer's approaching. Analysing the why, how and what behind every word helps me to discover the truth. If you know how to listen, you understand what's really going on. The police officer's walking towards the van at this point, but if we just play it.
Sorry, officer. Do you want to place your vehicle in the park?
It sounds as though she's saying help. Is she actually giving us a signal very early on that there's something about this that she wants the police officers to attend to? Why does she say it? And why does she say it at that point, even before she says anything else?
Okay, turn off your engine. Go ahead and set your keys on the dash for me, all right? What's your guys' names?
Gabby.
I'm Brian. Gabby, Brian, okay. What's going on? How come you're crying?
This anxious state we see, is this panic? Because this is on camera, and this is contradictory to the dream that she's trying to sell on social media. The body's tiny gestures and actions can reveal far more than the words. As a doctor in emotional intelligence, I'm trained to spot the critical moments that tell us what's true and what's fake. And that dream is that we're a loving couple, we're having a great time, and we're exploring America together. And yet what we're seeing here is maybe all is not well.
What's going on? How come you're crying?
I'm sorry, we've just been fighting this morning. Some personal issues.
It was a long day. We were camping yesterday, and camping got supplies and stuff. I'm sorry I hit the bump there.
I was distracting him from driving. I'm sorry.
And you can hear audible sniffs at this point, so she's genuinely upset. Now, notice her language choices.
We've just been fighting this morning. Some personal issues.
She's framing this as a fight, and she's owning her own part in that. At this point, Brian Laundrie steps in to provide additional info.
It was a long day. We were camping yesterday, and camping got supplies and stuff. I'm sorry I hit the bump there.
What's interesting is he doesn't disagree with her word choices. He doesn't say they weren't fighting. Another instance of Gabby owning her behaviour comes literally 8 seconds later.
I was distracting him from driving. I'm sorry.
She's owning straight away that she's been involved in the reason he's hit the bump at this point. And he's very careful to keep repeating his apologies.
I'm sorry I hit the bump there.
He's wanting to show the police that he's fully cooperating with them.
Can I get you to step out of the vehicle for me, ma'am?
Yeah.
Just hang tight right there. Do you mind if I take your keys and just put them on your hood?
You got it, buddy. I'm so
Thank
sorry.
you. Oh, no, you're fine. Why don't you come over here? SO229. I have the female that was in the passenger seat separated from the male. Keys are on the hood.
Separated, Gabby Petito and Brian Laundrie started to tell very different stories.
There's a clip here which is quite illuminating and revealing about how Gabby's feeling.
You want to tell me what's going on?
Yeah, I don't know. It's just some days I have really bad OCD, and I was just cleaning and straightening up the back of the van before, and I was apologizing to him and saying, I'm sorry that I'm so mean, because sometimes I have OCD and sometimes I just get really frustrated. Not like mean towards him, I just I guess my vibe is like I am like in a bad mood. And I was just saying, I'm sorry if I'm in a bad mood. I've just been really stressed. I had so much work I was doing on my computer this morning.
So she's down in a concave shape and a collapsed state. And this is often when people are being abused or in a victim state. So when they collapse, it fits with sadness, the downward trajectory of sadness. But she's feeling weak and vulnerable, and we see that with the shape of her chest. She's showing that vulnerability with the concave shape of her body.
Sometimes I have OCD and sometimes I just get really frustrated. Not like mean towards him, I just like, I guess...
The pitch level is up and down, which is consistent with someone who's emotional and then calms down a bit and then becomes emotional again. This is someone who's genuinely upset, and her words and her gestures and her voice quality all match. But she's not minimising her own part in this. She also shows a tendency to want to apologise here. I'm sorry if I'm in a bad mood. I'm just really stressed.
The officer then returned to the van to speak to Brian Laundrie.
Gabrielle, you talk to my fiance, right?
What's that?
You talked to Gabrielle, right?
Yeah, I just spoke to her.
Yeah.
You just talked to Gabrielle, right? In other words, what have you been talking about? And his emotional state at this point is quite anxious. And how do we know that? Because we've got a combination of signals from his body, even with this slim view through the window. He's breathing in a form which we call thoracic breathing. Thoracic breathing from the upper chest is when we're so tense, our diaphragm tightens up and doesn't do the breathing for us. So we have to consciously raise the upper chest, and that tells us that that person is anxious. And if you look carefully at his T-shirt at this point, it rises and falls, and you see the shoulders going backwards and forwards. He's squeezing and tightening on the hands, and he's got his brows up. If I want you to start speaking, I'll lift my brows, and this is an invitation for you to speak. So he asks a question, raises his brows, and he's seeking information. But at the same time, we can see the tension, the manipulation, and the breathing that tells us he's highly anxious.
Coast to coast, they were crossing the spectacular sights of America and wanted the world to know it through their warm and upbeat posts.
She was a free spirit. She loved life. She loved adventure. And she was very popular amongst her friends. She was very close to her family and both of her step-parents. And she just was full of life, which is what made her so relatable.
Looking to steal some of his granola.
I think that within the pandemic, so many young people found themselves an outlet in creating, whether it was on TikTok, whether it was on YouTube, because there wasn't much to do other than, share what you were doing.
So me and Brian just got up and got ready, made the bed in the tent, set up.
She bought a van, she renovated it, she made it a home for herself and for her fiance, Brian. So I think that her longing to share this journey with people and to reach the masses and inspire them as well was something that she thought she could make into a career.
Brian Laundrie to Gabby Petito was the love of her life. They had known each other for quite a long time. They lived together in Brian Laundrie's family house for over a year, and they got engaged and had a beautiful engagement party.
Brian Laundrie was 23. He was an outdoorsy type, so he and Gabby connected on that level. They had a mutual love of the same things. But there was also a darker side to Brian Laundrie, and you have to look very, very hard at his social media to understand that. He used to upload various pieces of artwork onto social media sites. There's images which are quite disturbing of a squirrel that's strangling another squirrel, and also a woman who appears to be possibly dead, but she's bloodied and she's bruised. Very strange. What I would call a angry at the world side.
A very different Brian Laundrie was shown in Gabby's videos.
I think our plan for today is to just hang out here in the tent. Brian's stretching, doing some morning yoga.
What you have to understand is that Gabby was very, very media savvy. And she understood that for her and her future as a nutritionist, she had to be relentlessly positive. She had to be smiling in all of the videos that she put out. You see them cartwheeling on beaches, you see them driving through sand dunes, and you see them hugging and kissing each other. There's lots of heart emojis. Now, nobody can live this 24 hours a day.
I love the band.
So, we are right outside Capitol Reef right now in a free dispersed camp spot. And we've been lucky so far at all the places we've stayed.
Imagine being in that tiny little van together all of that time. They were bound to rub each other up the wrong way. There were bound to be arguments. But I think this is when Brian Laundrie certainly started to reveal himself for who he was.
I think that the scariest part about social media is that things appear very differently than how they actually are. Of course, you wouldn't show the bad parts of a relationship in these type of videos. Everything's happy, everything's good. They're the ideal travelers together. They want to influence others to be like them.
6 weeks into the romantic road trip, a man calls police in the city of Moab, in the American Midwest state of Utah.
We're driving by and I'd like to report a domestic dispute. The Florida license plate, white land. We drove by and the gentleman was slapping the girl.
He was slapping her?
Yes, and then we stopped. They ran up and down the sidewalk. He proceeded to hit her, hopped in the car, and they drove off.
It's happening along a sidewalk, and that they got into a white van with Florida tags and drove off.
White Ford Transit.
White Ford Transit. All right, I will let somebody know. Thank you.
Sorry, officer.
Do you want to place your vehicle in the park?
Recorded on police body cam, this routine stop on a remote US highway became famous across the world. The video was released 1 month later, immediately after Gabby's parents reported their daughter missing. Brian Laundrie was asked to step out of the van.
So, tell me what's going on. We see this gets worked up sometimes.
We've got this rolling in of the lips, so there's and a little snarl coming from the face. So it's almost suggesting some anger here. So she gets worked up sometimes.
We see this gets worked up sometimes, and I try and really distance myself from her.
So a gesture which would support that being a true statement would be, I try and distance myself from her. But we don't get that. If you watch the hands, it's more a shaking, throttling movement back and forward to suggest, no, you don't distance yourself from her. You shake her. So this looks like a violent illustration of shaking someone. Really, you're showing signs that maybe you're violent with her.
So I try and really distance myself from her.
That is a gestural slip. It's gestural leakage. So we've got leakage of maybe what he was really doing when he was claiming he was distancing himself from her.
And I just quit my job to travel across the country, and I'm trying to start a blog. I have a blog stuff, so I've been building my website. So I've been really stressed, and he doesn't really believe that I could do any of it. So that's kind of been like I don't know. He's like down there. I don't know. We've just been fighting all morning, and
Gabby is someone who's very, very careful to say things about Brian Laundrie that make him look in a positive light, if you like. She minimises his part in much of this. So we should pay attention when she does say something about him.
So I've been building my website, so I've been really stressed and I didn't really believe that I could do any of it.
So we're now getting to the truth. It's a dream, but it's not got the support of Brian Laundrie. And when she says he doesn't really believe that I could do any of it, we get this look to the van and a dismissive throwaway gesture, almost like a dismissive signal.
I didn't really believe that I could do any of it.
So that to me is somebody who is not supportive of his girlfriend's aspirations. That is also somebody who is pouring doubt on her ability to do what she is actually doing really very effectively. So is this evidence of coercive control on his part? Is this a pattern of undermining her belief in her achievements, her self-esteem, if you like, so that he can gain control of her? I would say that it is.
So, like, I locked the car and I walked away from her.
Why is it that he's locking her out of her own van?
Down there, I don't know, we've just been fighting all morning and he wouldn't let me in the car before.
And that, to me, is actually quite a key moment in this interview.
And he wouldn't let me in the car before.
He locked her out of what was effectively her home at that time. Now, you don't put her out like a cat. And that's a very dominant thing to do, isn't it? It's a very controlling thing to do.
He told me I needed to calm down. Yeah. But I'm perfectly calm. I'm calm all the time. And he really stresses me out. And this is a rough morning.
She's anxious, she's doing a blog, she wants to just get back on the road, because if this comes across as Brian Laundrie committing domestic violence in the van that they live in against Gabby, then this gets serious. It's the police have to report it, he has to go into the system, and she doesn't want that. Reason number one, it counters her dream and her image. It's not good PR. Second, is it more sinister? Is she suppressing the domestic violence that she's suffering, because sometimes that's what victims do?
Brian Laundrie was careful not to say too much.
Start at the beginning for me, over.
Start at the beginning. Well, I don't want to go too far back.
I don't want to go too far back. That's a really important self-disclosure. Why not? Why doesn't he want to go too far back? What is it that's problematic if he doesn't go back further? So he very much is controlling how much he's going to tell them at this point.
But we've been in Beyond Land for the past week or so, traveling around, and the flies here are pretty intense. So the flies have definitely been getting to her, and then my feet are dirty and everything. So I think that our little squabble started because you're hanging out at the coffee shop.
He's not telling us about big things at all. He's making it sound as though she reacts to the slightest thing. But notice is minimising of the tension between them. She's described a fight.
I don't know, we've just been fighting all morning and...
He is saying...
I think that our little squabble started because you're hanging out at the coffee shop, and when we got back to the van, there was some dirt and stuff in the van, and I moved our food around, it was a little disorganized, so she gets a little...
So she gets a little, so it's back on her. She's overreacted.
What was the disagreement about?
It was, I wouldn't even call it disagreement. It was just that I'm dirty and I can't change being dirty. Like, I got dirty feet, I got sand on my flip-flops and stuff like that.
So yeah, I've got dirty feet and I can't change. That's the way I am. If you don't like it, it's your problem. So when he's describing the dirty feet, he's not describing it as a problem. He's describing it as her problem.
It was that we were at the coffee shop for so long because we were there from 9 to 3. So yeah, there's a few little things.
He's minimising, and the gesture we see from his hand here is using the thumb and the finger to say, these are little things. You know, guys, we've all faced it. These little irritations from people who can't cope with life. And again, it's saying it's her fault.
I don't know if you have a relationship, but I'm sure you
I've been married for over 5 years now. So.
There's a lot of little things.
Yeah, I can go. I get it.
He's smart here because he hands over the conversation to the police officer. And you'll see this from his body language with his gesture. He's almost serving up, and this is an invitation. He's saying, How long have you been in a relationship? This is great avoidance. So why do you want to get off this story? Is it uncomfortable? Well, let's watch this.
I've been married for over 5 years now. So.
There's a lot of little things.
Yeah, I can go. I get it.
There you go. So the plot is developing. So there's a lot of little things in relationships, isn't there? You know, you feel it too, don't you? And the smile on his face is socially engaging the officers. I'm no threat. I'm like you. You're like me. And he's trying to get the officer to share in the difficulty of dealing with emotional partners.
Poignantly, aged 14, Gabby Petito featured in a music video aimed at combating violence against children. After the horrific shootings at Sandy Hook Elementary School in the United States, the message to pupils was, "We are all irreplaceable."
The music video was shot on Long Island. Gabby also appears in the video, holding a sign saying, "She's irreplaceable."
The oldest of 6 full and half siblings, Gabby was close with her parents and step-parents, though her relationship with Brian Laundrie progressed quicker than they'd expected.
Gabby Petito and Brian Laundrie actually met at school with each other in Long Island, and they had gone on a trip together as friends and came back in a relationship. And Brian ended up moving down to Florida with his family during the pandemic, and Gabby soon followed him, and they surprisingly got engaged, which was something I think that caused a little bit of contention within her family.
With the pandemic still raging, Gabby and Brian decided they would quit their jobs, kit out a van, and drive across America. After attending her brother's graduation in New York, they set off for California on July the 2nd, 2021. But on August the 12th, they were stopped on a highway in the US Midwest.
Okay. You want to tell me about those scratches on your face?
2 witnesses had reported the couple fighting outside a nearby restaurant.
If you look closely here on the right side of his face, you'll see 2 or 3 marks, quite deep wounds.
She had a cell phone in her hand. That's why I was pushing her away, because she wanted me. I locked the keys so I could walk away. I said, let's just take a breather and let's not, go anywhere. Let's just calm down for a minute. She was getting worked up. And then she had her phone and was trying to get the keys to her. So I grabbed away. I was just trying to, I know I shouldn't push, but I was just trying to push her away to go, let's just take a minute, step back and breathe. And you see she got me with her phone.
Well, the gesture he's showing us is a fist. He's clenching his fist. We also notice a push away, but right at the end of that push away, we get this flip of the wrist, which is like a slap. This would fit well with, so I hit her. But he doesn't say I hit her. He says I was pushing away. So pushing away, the gesture would have stopped here. But when you finish it off with a rapid slap, maybe the interchange was a little bit more aggressive than he's claiming.
When I do training with police, I always ask them to pay very special attention whenever you've got a man in the situation who is covered in scratches. Now, Brian Laundrie is keen to show that he has a scratch to his face, he has a scratch to his hand. This is all evidence that Gabby is out of control. But is it? Because quite often, scratches on a perpetrator is all that you will see when a woman has been subject to non-fatal strangulation.
You want to tell me about those scratches on your face?
She had a cell phone in her hand. That's why I was pushing her away.
Notice he's implying rather than stating that Gabby used a phone as a weapon. Because another reading of this could be she had a cell phone in her hand because she needed to call for help. Take us back to the beginning where she mentions help.
Sorry, you want to place your vehicle in the park?
Was she trying to protect herself and not use it as a weapon?
All right, just hang tight for me.
The officers then asked Gabby Petito about the witness report that Brian Laundrie had hit her.
Where'd you hit him? Slapped him first? It's on his face? How many times did you slap him? And then what? And his reaction was to do what? He just grabbed you? Did he hit you though? I mean, it's okay if you're saying you hit him. I understand if he hit you, but we want to know the truth if he actually hit you. Because, you know...
Well, I guess, yeah, but I hit him first. That means it fits more with her saying they were fighting. Because of her admitting to doing the action first, I think they're going down the line of she's the aggressor and therefore he becomes a victim.
So, because there was an assault that took place and you're obviously showing signs of the strikes, do you mind if I take pictures of the injuries that you sustained? And then the right arm.
His injuries recorded, Brian Laundrie was also helped to tell his story. On the right, watch the park ranger investigating alongside the local police.
Okay, so you said you pushed her to create some distance, obviously, right? What happened after that? What got the scratches on your eye?
The phone.
The phone. So you pushed her and she hit you?
She was. It wasn't like a push, and she jumped on me. She was already. I don't want to. She was already swinging, and I was.
So he's gesturing that she was swinging. He didn't mention that word. He said she was already, and he's trying to build his vocabulary. There's a pause there. He's trying to think of the right word to say. And as he hesitates at that point, the officer to his left comes in with almost like a gorilla stance, and he mutters the word swinging.
I don't want to. She's already swinging, and I was.
So Brian Laundrie picks that up. It's another way of connecting with, hang on, I've hooked another officer here. So I'll use his words because sounds okay. And then he volunteers.
She's already swinging, and I was.
Because the officer did the claw gesture first and he just copied it. So this is mirroring. And mirroring is a rapport-building technique that if someone behaves a certain way and you match and mirror that behaviour, it connects you. So this is advanced body language techniques. Mirror them and you'll get them on your side, and then you can manipulate and influence to your goals.
Yeah, you got 3 scratches in your neck. You got one on the left side of your nose. You got one in your face here.
That's funny. He starts pointing out and naming all the wounds. You've got one here, one here, one here, one here.
Yeah, you got 3 scratches in your neck. You got one on the left side of your nose. You got one in your face here.
And then he finishes off with an explanation that's what's caused that. And then Brian Laundrie's just loving this, but you've got him on the side of the screen here like that. So in other words, you've got those wounds from her clawing at you. You know, she must be so aggressive, is the inference.
Do you mind lifting up your right sleeve for me? I'm curious about something.
It's a little bit of nail. I suppose fingernails, but I'm not complaining. I'm not complaining about
Is it bruised or tender or anything like
No.
that?
Okay. I'm fine, and I look at it. I hope she doesn't have too many complaints about me.
I hope she doesn't have too many complaints about me. If you follow that through, the assumption behind those words is that there is something to complain about.
And there was. Gabby Petito showed the evidence to the police.
Where did he hit you? Don't worry. Hang on. Did he slap your face or what?
So she says that he's grabbed her by the face. So has she scratched him while he's done this? But she also indicates with her hand her throat. So I think that the police really should have asked, has he at any point touched your throat? Has he got these scratches because you've been trying to pry him off you? That should have been a red flag.
She tells us, well, like he grabbed me with his nail. Now, she keeps giving these clues as to how violent did it get. If someone temporarily grabs the face of another to stop them and then lets go, your nails don't go in there. You're doing it with some force if your nails are also going in when you grab someone. If they knew at this point they didn't have the full story, why weren't her marks photographed in the way that his marks were photographed?
I think that the police accept Brian Laundrie's narrative at face value. That's a real minimisation of what has actually happened. And yet, it's taken as truth because here's somebody who is presenting as calm, as sensible, reasonable, affable. That should have been dug into a little bit deeper because it just doesn't ring true to me at all. And I would wonder why he feels the need to lie.
The officers were already beginning to believe that if anyone had committed an offence, it was Gabby Petito, not Brian Laundrie. Next, they delved deeper into the couple's lives.
I got a quick question for you, Brian. Do you take any medications or anything like that?
So for privacy reasons, we lose the sound on the body cam at that point. But what's interesting is as the officer approaches him, you can see the confidence in Brian Laundrie is building. He's not submissive with the hands in front of his groin anymore. He's got the hands by his side, him and the park ranger. They're having a whale of a time. And you see this jaw come out. It's subtle, but the jaw comes out. Some people might describe that as arrogance, and it's pronounced. You'll see it here, where it comes forward. Oh, it's probably 20 degrees.
Yeah, do you know if she takes anything? She's just crazy.
No, her behaviour can be explained because she's just crazy. So this is a derogatory statement, you know, the calling someone crazy.
She just crazy. Is that a really helpful thing to say at this point?
She's just crazy. No, I don't think so. No, none that I know of.
None that I know of is odd because they're living in a van, and it's a small van. Wouldn't you have noticed?
But you tend to have a lot of anxiety and stress.
I have a lot of anxiety.
And what's his name? Is it Brian? Is he usually pretty patient with you?
Yeah, but it just makes me upset. I know that he definitely gets frustrated with me a lot.
I think that you can make a judgment here, can't you? And the easy judgment to make is, well, she's highly strung. She's saying that herself, and this is what her boyfriend is telling us. But actually, if you look at that a little bit deeper, why is she so distressed? Why is this distress not lessening? Victims of domestic abuse very often don't want to make things worse for themselves, and they're absolutely terrified of what the repercussions might be if they tell the truth and they don't take the blame on themselves. So is it that she's frightened of what might happen afterwards?
But the police felt the evidence against Gabby Petito was mounting.
The reason law enforcement considered arresting Gabby in this situation was because the facts that presented at that particular point pointed to Gabby being the abuser, not from the standpoint of how Gabby was acting, but from words that were spoken. First of all, Gabby said that it was her fault, that she hit him first.
She openly admitted to me earlier that she was striking him in the arm.
The roadside police also managed to contact one of the two witnesses who'd seen the couple fighting.
So I just want to go with two witnesses. Okay. And I reported it. You want me to tell you what you said? Yeah. Real quick.
Crucially, he did not speak to the 911 caller who saw the man slapping the woman. He spoke to another witness.
So, he said that he never saw the male strike the female. He saw the male trying to lock her out of the vehicle.
They felt they had enough to charge Gabby for assaulting Brian Laundrie.
We can't treat this differently than if it was a male on female violence. Yeah. And we're going to have to charge her.
Well, we are charging her with domestic assault. So there's going to be a protection order set in place between the two of them.
They decided to question Gabby one last time.
Gabby, this is a very, very important question. How you answer this question is going to determine what happens next. But the only person who can answer this question is you. Think very hard before you answer the question. Do not quickly answer. Think very hard. When you slapped him those times, were you attempting to cause him physical pain or physical impairment? Was that what you were attempting to do to him?
No.
What were you attempting to do? What was the reason behind the slapping and stuff? What was it you were attempting to accomplish by slapping?
I was trying to get him to stop telling me something.
Well, it doesn't sound to me like she attempted to injure him. It's your call. This is 100% your call. I support you either way.
I'll let you get back to your parents, okay?
From the back of the police car, Gabby continued speaking to her mother 2,000 miles away in New York. Meanwhile, the decision was taken not to prosecute. The officer using his body cam to explain why.
I'm recording, and society, the judges, and everyone can judge me for this. I am looking at a 110-pound female and her fiance who have no means to be separated. He doesn't want to pursue it. She's not a threat to him, more than slight abrasions from her fingernails.
They came up with a new plan.
So, this is what I'm going to do. I've decided I am not going to cite you for domestic violence battery, okay? It was only going to be a Class B misdemeanor. However, the domestic violence portion of it enhances it. Makes life a major pain in the butt, especially at your 22, right? So I'm choosing not to cite you today. So you are not going to be charged with it. Alright? But this is what I do have to do. I am separating with you tonight. Okay? I want you guys both to be tonight away from each other, relax, breathe, crying, because there's no reason to be crying now, okay? I understand that this can feel like it's a nightmare, but you're coming out as the golden flower on top of it, okay? So, you're going to be taking the van tonight, and you're going to go somewhere else. I am going to get him lined up for the hotel room tonight. I want you guys to stay away from each other. For both of you guys' sake. From what you told me and what he told me, you guys have a bunch of little things that are building up, and finally the little string that you guys were tight walking on the way tonight. Does that sound about right? Perfect. Come real quick. You're out of here, and I'll be right over here. Alrighty? I'm going to give you the keys to the van. I'm going to here's what happened. Alrighty? My door's open, just climb in the back seat. Yeah.
Brian Laundrie was found a room for the night.
I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for everything.
No problem. It's nice to meet you, Brian.
Nice to meet you.
Have a good one.
While Gabby slept alone in the van. But eventually, any plan to rescue their relationship, a relationship that looked so perfect online, was doomed to failure.
After the police stop, Gabby and Brian continue their trip, and they continue to document and film. Gabby actually published their van life YouTube vlog that now has millions of views.
Seemingly picture-perfect moments in the tragically short life of Gabby Petito.
Gabby Petito never goes outside.
On August the 26th, 2 weeks after the police body cam footage was recorded, these were the last images of Gabby Petito. Posted on Instagram, she posed with a pumpkin in the town of Ogden, Utah.
The last known time Gabby and Brian were seen together was on August 27th, 2021 in Jackson, Wyoming. The two were seen in a bit of a scuffle, an uncomfortable situation outside of a Tex-Mex restaurant.
There, witnesses saw them fighting again. They reported that Brian Laundrie seemed angry with staff personnel at the restaurant, and angry with Gabby Petito.
They vanished. Gabby was not seen again.
Gabby Petito was very close to her family. She kept in contact during this trip, and all of a sudden, everything went silent. So immediately, Gabby's mom knew something was wrong.
She hadn't heard from her daughter for 2 weeks. On September the 11th, Gabby's mother, Nicole Schmidt, reported her missing.
The first couple of days, I wasn't getting responses. I believe she was in a place with no service. It was like day 8 and 9 that I really became concerned.
Gabby, we just want you to come home. Call us. Let us know you're okay. We just come home, please.
We miss you.
Next, to help the search, Utah police made the body cam footage public.
Police have released a video of a missing woman tearfully describing a dispute she had on a road trip with her boyfriend.
These internet sleuths on TikTok in particular were going through hours of footage and videos and pictures that Gabby had posted, trying to find clues as to where she could possibly be.
In body cam footage, Gabby Petito, 22, and Brian Laundrie, 23, describe a quarrel that became mildly physical.
But only Gabby was missing. People reported seeing Brian Laundrie, and he'd been in contact with his family.
All of a sudden, the Gabby Petito case takes on a very special life of its own.
The case has fascinated people nationwide and across the world, with many amateur sleuths sharing tips and theories online, including on TikTok, where the Gabby Petito hashtag has gone viral, viewed more than 500 million times.
There were so many questions. It was like a true crime novel. It was one thing after another that kept everyone on their toes and wanting to figure out what was going on.
Then, a breakthrough. reported online.
A vlogger couple recalled seeing a white van with Florida plates, and so they went back to their dash cam and were hoping to find footage of this van. Luckily, they did.
And that led to the discovery of Gabby Petito's body.
It's the news Gabby Petito's family hoped they'd never hear.
Earlier today, human remains were discovered, consistent with the description of Gabrielle Gabby Petito.
The FBI said on Sunday night that a woman's body was found at Grand Teton National Park in Wyoming, a spot the 22-year-old and her fiancé were planning to visit late last month, according to her mother.
As every parent can imagine, this is an incredibly difficult time for the family.
Gabby Petito died by being manually strangled with throttling. A ligature wasn't used. Someone's bare hands were used to strangle Gabby Petito to death.
Brian Laundrie was the only suspect. He'd traveled 2,500 miles to his parents' home in Florida. But when law enforcement officers called, Laundrie's parents said he'd headed to a local nature reserve and hadn't come back.
That was over 20,000 acres, thousands of miles of hiking trails. And despite cadaver dogs, drones, high-tech heat searching technology used by law enforcement, Brian Laundrie remained at large.
Brian Laundrie's parents were asked to help the search at the reserve. On October the 20th, they arrived, and the hunt for their son came to a rapid and remarkable end.
The parents were escorted by a local officer and a federal agent, but they, by themselves, came upon Brian Laundrie's items and ultimately the skeletal remains of Brian Laundrie.
He died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. In Brian's notebook, police found a confession that revealed that he killed Gabby.
When Brian Laundrie killed Gabby, he wasn't somebody who was out of control. There was no red mist. He was somebody who was absolutely determined. And I would actually lay money on the fact that he had strangled her before. 43% of all women who are killed by their partners have experienced non-fatal strangulation in the 6 months or year prior to when they are killed. And this is why I think that the scratches on Brian Laundrie's hands that were so clearly evident in the police videos should have been far more of a cause for concern.
I believe the reason that this case became so important to the public is because Gabby Petito portrayed the perfect image of a couple, the perfect image of a life that so many of us perhaps seek. And that was destroyed. And I believe the public could not believe the story ended this way.
Gabby Petito could have been anybody. She could have been your sister, your friend, yourself, and you're wondering who else is going through something like this? Who else is in a relationship like this? And it's made me go at least the extra step to pay closer attention to that. And I don't think that that's a bad thing.
This is a dreadful case. This is the trip of a lifetime that has ended in the worst way possible with the death of 2 young people. The truth is that women will continue to die at the hands of violent men, And men will continue to die through suicide until we tackle the culture that allows this. A culture where men are encouraged to express anger above any other type of emotion, and where it's expected that they will dominate their girlfriends. Until we start to tackle that, this horrible, horrible turn of events will happen again.
From the 9-1, switch that over, that's the young blonde. I was at the West Coast, now I'm in the East Coast. Saw you when